Good afternoon and welcome to Football League World TV. It's Monday afternoon and as ever, it's time for EFL Transfer Zone here on Football League World TV. My name is Sam Rourke, the Chief Editor of footballleagueworld.co.uk, and I'm joined by my colleague Ben Wignall. Ben, how you getting on this afternoon, mate?
Yeah, feeling better. I had a bit of an ill weekend, so apologies if I sound a bit hoarse, but yeah, ready to talk some transfers as we get closer to the window reopening.
Yeah, absolutely. January is looming now, not too long to go until the window opens its doors for transfers within the EFL. If you're watching this show, send in your comments, whether it be on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. What do you make of some of the transfer rumours we're talking about during this show? Are there any players you'd like your club to sign in the new year? Please do let us know. Our first transfer rumour we're going to discuss today is with regards to Cauley Woodrow at Barnsley. West Bromwich Albion have been linked with a move for the striker in the new year. Obviously, a player that Valérien Ismaël knows well, given their time together at Oakwell. It's been a relatively slow start this season for Woodrow in front of goal. He's only scored 4 goals so far. He had a much more fruitful stint last season where he scored 13 under Ismaël as the Tykes made a playoff push. It's no secret that Ismaël wants a new striker at West Bromwich Albion. I think you only had to watch the game against Barnsley last time out. The amount of chances they had that they didn't actually score. Ben, I'll come to you then. They've been linked with a number of strikers over the last couple of months. Daryl Dike has been a name that's been very much touted around. Woodrow's a new one. What do you make of this one?
I'm not really sure about it, to be honest. I know he's scored double figures every season, for Barnsley. He's been in League One and the Championship since he's been there. But, he struggled a bit this season. I don't know if that's anything to do with, the way Marcus Shop played him. But even in the first half of 2021, Ismaël was at Barnsley. He only scored 4 times after Dike came into Barnsley. He became kind of like the focal point. Woodrow was kind of creating a bit more rather than scoring. It feels a little bit like a kind of a Jordan Hugill-esque signing, this one. He's got like that Championship experience, but Woodrow's not a player I'd expect to be, starting week in, week out for a kind of automatic promotion chasing Championship club. I think West Brom do need to push the boat out a little bit more if they are going to get that automatic promotion place. Like a Daryl Dike trying to get in, whether it's permanent or more likely on loan. That does seem like a better target. But yeah, it's not one that would convince me Woodrow to West Brom. I know Ismaël has worked with him before, but it's not one that would convince me that he's going to get the goals to get them to the Premier League.
Yeah, the 27-year-old does have 18 months left on his current contract at Oakwell, so it would require a fee from Albion in the new year. In terms of his profile as a striker, Woodrow, I mean, Dike is somewhat different, isn't he, in terms of his attributes and what he would bring to that Albion side. A lot more, he's taller, he's more physical, stronger, he's got a bit of pace about him, whereas Woodrow perhaps isn't that necessarily target man style that Ismaël seems to like. So you're a little bit surprised that maybe, Woodrow has emerged as a target, given the sort of profile that we feel Ismaël tends to go for?
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised. Obviously, when Dike did come into Barnsley, I think he kind of played as like a support striker, Woodrow, as one of the two behind Dike. So if Woodrow would be coming in as that central striker, it would kind of surprise me. And that's why I think Dike has to be the number one target, or someone of that ilk, even I don't think they'll spend this kind of money, but like an Elijah Adebayo from Luton, that kind of physical striker who can hold the ball up. That's why I just don't see how Woodrow being a target wouldn't make sense. But, Ismaël having worked with him at Barnsley, maybe he thinks he can get a little bit more out of him, even though he's at an age at 27 where, he should be peaking by now. There shouldn't be that much improvement left in him. And, 4 goals this season would be a little bit of a worry. But he's in a Barnsley team that's not really been creating that much. Maybe he thinks with players like Robinson and Diangana around him, he can score goals. But yeah, he's a bit of a strange one, considering he's not the physical kind of striker that Ismaël seems to crave.
We've got a comment coming from YouTube, but Wayne Walden, a regular viewer of Football League World TV. Great to have you watching us this afternoon. I think that Woodrow would be a good asset for West Bromwich Albion. Wayne is, of course, a Fulham fan. As ever, please do send in your comments. What do you make of the Woodrow to West Bromwich Albion transfer link? Do you think it would be a good move for the Baggies in the new year? Is he the sort of striker you feel Valérien Ismaël craves? Right, let's look at another transfer rumour next. Steve Cook's name continues to be floated around the rumour mill in the EFL. QPR and Watford have joined the race to sign the AFC Bournemouth centre-back in the new year. His contract does expire in the summer at the Vitality Stadium. He's found it hard to get regular game time this season down on the South Coast. Has very often had to be happy with a place on the substitutes bench. He has had a couple of injuries as well to contend with. Did put in a man of the match performance away at Fulham not too long ago. Some heroic bits of defending there from the centre-back. Let's come to you then, Ben, on this. He's a player that's got a wealth of experience over the years. He's played over 380 matches for AFC Bournemouth. He's a club legend there, you could say. Let's look at the QPR interest first then. What do you think of this from an Arsenal perspective? Would it be good to bring in someone like Cook in the new year? Because obviously QPR are a team that definitely have promotion aspirations this season, don't they?
Yeah, I think it would be a good move for QPR. It adds experience to that back line. I think right now they've got obviously Rob Dickie and Jimmy Dunn, who are at an age where they could do with someone of that experience, someone who's played in the Premier League for a long time to learn off. And I know they've got, Johan Barbie and Jordy Device as well, but I think Cook adds a little bit more of a different level to those two players. And I don't know if he's kind of Premier League quality anymore. He's out of a long-term injury for a lot of 2021, Cook. But definitely going to a team like QPR if they're interested in him, especially for a cut price fee. I think that could be a really good move. I don't know if wages will be an issue because I can't imagine he's on a cheap deal at Bournemouth, but if QPR offered like a 1.5, 2.5 year deal, then I could see Cook potentially being tempted by that.
Yeah, I mean, QPR and Watford aren't the only two teams that are interested in the player. We reported last week on the EFL Transfer Zone that Newcastle United are also keeping tabs on the player as Eddie Howe looks to strengthen the Toon in the new year. Let's just touch on Watford's interest then. Obviously, they're a team that will be wanting to avoid the drop from the Premier League this season. They've had a steady season so far, picked up some good results at the same time, probably lack a little bit of consistency. Would Steve Cook be a good signing for Watford, do you think?
I'm not sure. They don't really tend to, shop in that, the kind of experienced British players kind of market. I know they've got a few already in the, Dan Gosling came in when they were in the Championship. Craig Cathcart's been there for a while. But I can't see Watford going out and picking up, Steve Cook, who's not played that many games recently, to come and kind of help their leaking goal situation. I think they're more likely to perhaps shop abroad with, the scouting network they've got. So I'd be surprised if Watford did actually make a move for him. I think top-end Championship right now is probably, with the lack of game time he's had, Cook's level for now.
Yeah, certainly a situation to watch with regards to Steve Cook. He is 30 years old, so you feel he's got a couple of years left in him at Championship level at the very least. We will keep you up to date with that here on Football League World. Right, let's look at another transfer story next. Just a quick reminder, send in your comments, whether you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube or Twitter. We really do want to hear from you. Millwall are keen to sign Middlesbrough striker Uche Ikpeazu in the new year. It's been a somewhat underwhelming time for Ikpeazu so far at Riverside. Only 2 goals in 19 appearances for Middlesbrough. Millwall keen to strengthen in their attacking department in the new year and have identified Ikpeazu as someone they could bring in. I think it's become pretty clear that Chris Wilder isn't necessarily the biggest fan of Ikpeazu. Andras Sporar is the main man when it comes to their striking department right now. Millwall have only scored 24 goals this season in the Championship, so you can perhaps see a reason beyond wanting a new striker. Although they do have Tom Bradshaw and Benik Afobe, 2 pretty adequate strikers at second tier level. You do feel, Ben? What do you make of the Ikpeazu to Millwall transfer link?
Well, if they are going to bring him in, I don't think it's going to be for goals. He scored 6 last season for Wickham, and he's only scored 2 this season. I think it's more a case of offering something different. Afobe and Bradshaw are probably very similar strikers in the sense of more goal poachers and target men. Whereas they've got Matt Smith on the bench, who's played in a lot of games this season, but obviously a lot of them have been off the bench. He's kind of like a plan B kind of striker. You can lump it up to him. He's physical. Ikpeazu's in that mould, just a little bit more mobile and quicker. So, I can see the reasoning behind Millwall potentially wanting him. I think Matt Smith's in his 30s now and Ikpeazu's mid-20s. So it'd be I believe, an upgrade, not in terms of goals, but, what he brings to the team. I'm not particularly surprised that Chris Wilder's not a fan of him. I think he likes his strikers, to be kind of like high-pressing goal poachers, and Ikpeazu's not that. He's a hold-up player, and you can tell why Warnock wanted him in the summer. And it'd be a shame if his Middlesbrough career was kind of cut short. But Millwall could be a pretty good destination for him should the interest firm up.
Yeah, we've been speaking about Middlesbrough's transfer links to strikers over the last few weeks here on EFL Transfer Zone. That Folarin Balogun's been a name that's been linked quite heavily with Middlesbrough. So that's definitely one to watch. That could accelerate Uche Ikpeazu's potential departure from the Riverside in the new year. One of our writers on Football League World today branded this deal a potential a match made in heaven. Was what one of our writers said in an article today. Ben, can you see that? A lot of people, when they think about Mill, they think of very hard to beat, very resolute, very resilient, very powerful, strong. Uche Ikpeazu kind of falls into that bracket, doesn't he, of being a somewhat of a battering ram?
Yeah, he does. And I think in some cases, Millwall have, been quite direct over the years. I don't think they're as direct now under Rourke as they maybe were under, like Neil Harris. Jed Wallace likes to get the ball on the floor, make things happen. And they've got very good threats from, wing back with Scott Malone. He's not exactly, whipping crosses in for Afobe and Bradshaw. Those strikers want the ball on the floor to play it into the feet. Obviously, Ikpeazu brings something different. If he comes in, you'll be, putting it to his head, putting it to his chest, so he can bring the likes of Wallace and Bradshaw into play. You think of the old school, big man, little man kind of strike partnerships, and he could potentially be that with Bradshaw because he's come into a little bit of form recently. So, I think for kind of a younger version of Matt Smith, I think Ikpeazu could be, a match made in heaven if he can bring the kind of impact that Smith has over the years for Millwall.
Yeah, Wycombe Wanderers have also been linked with a move for their former striker in the new year. So definitely a situation to keep tabs on. Uche Ikpeazu's future at Middlesbrough. Millwall, the latest club to be linked with the forward. Right, let's look at another piece of news next. Wigan Athletic are reportedly eyeing a move for Preston North End striker Ched Evans, although this has been somewhat rebuffed today, as it seems that Preston North End's stance is that they won't let go of the striker in the new year. Ben, Ched Evans has had his fair share of injuries, hasn't he, since arriving at Deepdale? Has sort of been in and out of the side, never really got a consistent run of game time, but has scored goals in a number of his cameo appearances for the side. As a Preston fan, Ben, what do you make of Ched Evans' situation and this reported Wigan interest?
It's a really interesting situation. I think, he's played in the first few games of the season and then missed, I think, what was 3 months with a foot injury. I forgot how to pronounce it, but it's, plantar in your foot. That, I think he tried to work with it and he just couldn't. So he came back in November and, he made an impact scoring against Middlesbrough and Fulham. I think the Fulham one was a bit contentious with those handballs, but, he's got them goals on his record. He charges around the pitch like he's still in his 20s. You wouldn't think he's 32 years old with the way he plays. And I think with Ryan Law's system, I think he might work out well in it with his, high intensity from the front kind of player. He's not really just a hold-up player. He can, poach goals as well. So I think we'd be worth keeping him around. I know he does still divide opinion with the fan base. But I can see why Wigan do want him because, you know, the horrible situation that Charlie White's in, you know, they've probably lost him for the rest of the season, if not most of it. Ched Evans is kind of a similar kind of type striker to White, where he can hold it up and bring others into play. So I can understand why the links are there. But with his age, you know, obviously he's 32, he'll be 33 soon. He's got over 12 months left on his deal. If we can find someone a little bit better and younger, I don't know if Ryan Lowe is in the market for a striker this summer, in January, sorry. I imagine he might be, with the lack of depth up there. It'd be interesting to see how it plays out, but I'm not surprised that it's come out that we don't have any intention, you know, to either loan or sell him, because we are short in that department right now.
Yeah, so you're kind of suggesting that Ched Evans is kind of perfect backup to the likes of Emil Rees and Sean Maguire, because like you say, there aren't too many forward options right now at Deepdale, is there?
No, yeah, Josh Murphy as well's coming back from ankle ligament injury. I think he might be another option when he's, you know, fit again. And Scott Sinclair came on against Barnsley and had a decent cameo showing. I probably have Evans in there over Maguire. Maguire's not shown a great deal, you know, in front of goal. He lost his pace a few years ago, and, you know, his goal scoring threats kind of diminished since then. But for now, I'd keep Evans around, but it just depends on the January situation. If we can go out and get perhaps one or two strikers with, you know, more upside to them who are a bit younger, then I'd perhaps consider loaning Evans out. But he has shown from the bench, at least against Middlesbrough and Fulham, that he can make an impact. Maybe not so against Blackburn when he started the game and played most of it. He did have a big chance to score, but he wasn't as effective in that match. But he's definitely still got a use at PNE.
Yeah, definitely, again, a situation to watch. But it does sound like Preston do want to keep hold of Ched Evans as we approach the January transfer window. Right, we've got a couple more pieces of EFL transfer news up for you next. Nottingham Forest are reportedly eyeing a loan move for Newcastle United midfielder Sean Longstaff. Longstaff found it hard to cement himself into that Magpies starting 11 over the last few seasons. And I think the general consensus is that a loan move would do him a world of good. Forest have been linked with Longstaff before. This isn't the first time these two parties have been linked. Back in the summer, there was also a link between Longstaff and the Reds. Ben, I'll come to you then on this. We've seen kind of Jack Colback and Ryan Yates form that kind of two in front of the defence under Steve Cooper at Forest. In the last few games, we've seen Ryan Yates drop down into centre-back due to various injuries, and James Garner's often slotted in there. What do you make of this interest in Longstaff? Do you think it would be an astute addition for Steve Cooper and the Reds?
I don't think there's any doubt he's got talent. You know, I think he's been linked a couple of years ago to Man United, weren't he, for a big price. He's kind of lost his way a little bit due to not being picked by Steve Bruce very often, but I just think that they really need him, Forest. Like, when I think they are targeting a centre back, it's come out in January. I know they've got a few injuries, and Cooper does like to use a three at the back for the most part. And then when that happens, when you do get a new centre back in, Ryan Yates will, you assume, move back into midfield. So you've got Ryan Yates, Jack Colback, James Garner, Cafu, and even, you know, Brian Ojeda, who came in the summer. So that's 5 players for 2 places. If you add Longstaff to that, that's 6. So I do think, although he's a very good player, Longstaff in his own right, I just don't believe they really need him right now. They need to get a new centre back in. They probably need to freshen up front, you know, to give some competition to Grabban and Lyle Taylor. And obviously as well, Longstaff would probably cost a little bit in, you know, wages and loan fee as well, and that could be used to better effect in other positions, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you'd imagine Newcastle as well would want to guarantee that whatever club Longstaff goes to, you know, he's going to get guaranteed game time. I suppose right now at Forest, you perhaps can't say that he's going to get that right now. Reds fans, if you're watching this, would you like to see Sean Longstaff arrive at the City Ground in the new year? That is the latest link with regards to Forest. Please do let us know. Right, we've got one more piece of news for you next. It has emerged that Celtic are keeping tabs on Barnsley fullback Callum Styles. The 21-year-old has been an ever-present figure for the Tykes, certainly over the last few seasons. Came into the club as a central midfielder, but has kind of been deployed as a fullback in more recent times. Ben, I mean, he was a standout player for the Tykes last season in their push for the playoffs, wasn't he? Him and Callum Styles, in terms of the wing-back system they played, really, really impressive. I was quite surprised not to see more links to Callum Styles, more clubs, keep tabs on the player, because I think he's proven himself in the second tier, certainly last season. What do you make of this? Celtic keen on the player. What do you make of this piece of transfer news?
Well, I think Celtic have been looking for a left back for quite a few months. I think they were linked to Lee Buchanan from Derby back in, I think it was October. But Styles, he's not really played in a back four as a left back. He's played as a wing back. I think Struber was the one who converted him to a wing back to start with, and then it continued under Ismail when he came in, and he's kind of thrived in that position. And this season, he's more been flip-flopping between a wing back and his natural position of midfield. So if I think Ange Postecoglou plays with a back four, he plays with a 4-2-3-1, I'd be very surprised if he's looking at Styles for that position. It's not one he tends to play, so it'd be an interesting one. If he's looking at him in kind of a midfield capacity, then they've got pretty good options, just like we were talking about Forest and Longstaff. They've got James McCarthy, David Turnbull, McGregor, so that would be a stacked midfield to go into. But I could only really see Styles fitting in at Celtic if they were going to change, system, go to like a 3-4-3. I think to bring him in as a left back in a back four would be kind of quite risky in a way. Although he can, he can develop. He's proven to be very versatile, playing in a position where he hadn't played in his career up until last season. And like you said, Sam, I'm surprised he's not been linked to other clubs, because he is quite talented. We know Barnsley struggling at the minute, but he's still one of the standout players. I saw him play a couple of weeks back at Deepdale, and he was pretty impressive. So I can see why Celtic are interested. I'm just not sure he'd be the right fit in a back four for them.
Yeah, just finally on this, there might be some Celtic fans watching this show right now that perhaps haven't watched Callum Styles play in the Sky Bet Championship for Barnsley. Do you just want to describe him in a couple of words, just what sort of player he is? Because for me, what strikes me most about Callum Styles is his energy. He's a bundle of energy, constantly bombs up and down that flank, likes to get on the ball, likes to take on players, but also is pretty defensively sound as well. Do you want to just describe him in a few words for any Celtic fans that might be watching this?
Yeah, he's defensively sound, but I think what his standout qualities are going forward, and that's why he was converted to a wing back. And I seem to remember when he scored 4 times last year, and they all seem to be worldies, out from outside the box with his left foot. They always just seem to be aiming for the top corner. But yeah, like you said, his energy is the main quality he has, but he's also got a good delivery. I think he got 4 or 5 assists last season as well. So yeah, he's definitely got an outlet there. And if thinking about it again, if he does go into a back four at Celtic, then they're playing against teams for the most part who they should have enough quality to beat. So playing as an attacking left back in a four, maybe he can grow into that role. Celtic will have money to spend like they normally do, probably not in the tens of millions, but I think Barnsley will have to kind of hold out. They're in a precarious position, obviously, in the relegation zone, so they might have to, entertain these kind of offers, because Styles won't be wanting to play in League One, and if they do get relegated and he stays till the end of the season, there'll be no way he'll be playing in League One next season. But Celtic's interest, could be a head turner playing, in front of 50,000 fans every week. Even though there's a lot being said of the Scottish Premiership, the quality of it, but if Celtic are generally interested, I think he'll be trying to jump at the chance to go.
Yeah, it could be quite an attractive proposition for Callum Styles for sure. He is, again, I repeat, only 21, so plenty of time to mature and develop as a footballer. Right, well, that brings this week's episode of the EFL Transfer Zone to a close. Ben, thanks for joining me this Monday afternoon. Thanks for everyone that tuned in to watch this show. If you are watching this show on demand on YouTube, please do hit the like button and subscribe to us if you can. All the new subscriptions we get really, really do help us grow as a channel. We've got some really exciting plans for 2022, so make sure you do stick around. But until next time, we shall see you soon.